So it's ironic, but it's, at least in my opinion, it's another example of how the hippie generation are more or less useful idiots. Useful idiots that have been used by whoever else, which we won't get into, to mostly destabilize and erode the fabric of our culture and society, and more or less create more confusion, make people more convoluted, more internally wound up and complicated, so where they can't see authentic information, they can't recognize authentic information, most importantly, they can't interface or digest authentic information. Hence why I say useful idiots. So the way the original hippie generation was useful idiots is trying to tear down like the family unit, tear down religion, tear down gender, tear down economics, basically just allow Marxism to make its way through our culture and erode whatever stability and traditions that we might have had, which I'm not saying that they were all good and they all didn't need some improvement or some overhaul. That's not what I'm saying. It's just the way in which it's kind of like just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's not always like the most intelligent or mature or useful or productive or practical or successful methodology. But more often than not, that's kind of the way people look at things. Like, oh, down with capitalism, down with the patriarchy, down with the system, down with all these things. It's like, yeah, but have you really thought this through? Mr. Robot is a great example of this. If you watch season 1 and 2, spoiler alert, he blames, these evil companies as controlling the world and wants to free people from credit and free people from money. And then he does this big thing that basically deletes everyone's credit and everyone's debt. So they're quote unquote liberated. But it actually makes society way worse. It makes regular, normal people's lives worse. So the people it's trying to save, it actually harms. The goals it was trying to accomplish, it actually doesn't. It does the opposite. All it does is make the powerful people more powerful, more rich, because they allowed it to happen, because they knew about it and they used it to their own advantage. So I think it's just the greatest illustration of that mindset taken to its extreme and actually fully executed. So getting back to the point, I think basically with the whole plant medicine becoming trendy and people acting like it's, basically people are acting like it's the self-help new age version of the latest iPhone Pro Max or the latest Tesla X or the latest Rivian truck. It's the latest cool thing that stimulates the lowest base parts of the brain, simulates forward progress, and signals our status to others. But in reality is mostly just creating more confusion, more destabilization, more chaos, more convolution, more complication, and not really producing any of the qualities that are necessary for adults to navigate life in a way that is competent, in a way that engenders internal ease and internal comfort, which is more so the point and more so what are useful internal qualities to build. So useful idiots in terms of pushing forward this mindset, pushing forward this ideology, pre-framing and pre-wiring millions and millions of people's brains to accept something so that pharmaceutical companies will come along and be like, look, we have the solution. And then you're going to have all these counterculture, anti-establishment people bowing at the feet of the establishment, bowing at the feet of the very exact culture and mechanisms that they were striving to take down and striving to be an alternative to, which in my opinion is the absolute pinnacle example and the best way that I could explain the whole thing in the simplest, easiest, most straightforward way. And can they be used therapeutically in a clinical and professional setting under the guidance of a trained professional? I would say yes, most likely, and that's probably one of the better, if not best, use cases in this particular example.